And we are live. Hello and welcome to Developer Insights. I'm David.
And I'm Justin.
And together we are the leads on game development and design here at Codename.
We also founded Codename, so we've got that going for us too.
And we will be your hosts for this episode and for every episode.
Because when we're not here, this show doesn't happen.
It's been true 48 times in a row.
Speaking of which, today is our 48th episode.
And we were so excited about this episode that we started an hour and a half earlier than normal.
Oh yes, that's definitely what happened. We definitely weren't bumped from our usual time for some sort of special event stream.
I'm not sure what you're trying to imply.
Yeah, me neither.
Exactly.
But definitely stick around after our show for episode 2 of Idle Champions Presents The Black Pits, in case you missed the first stream of it earlier this morning.
And even if you did catch the first stream of it, we are running a unique interview we're running unique cast member interviews at the start of each broadcast. So if you have been enjoying the show so far, you'll definitely want to check that out too.
Anyway, we are here to answer your development and design questions about Idle Champions.
And if you don't ask any questions, however, you may have to suffer through Justin's one-man reenactment of the episode of Idle Champions Presents The Black Pits that aired earlier this morning and will air right after this show.
Do you think that we're plugging the Black Pits stream too much?
I don't know. Do you?
Well, I mean, it is very good. I saw it this morning when it aired, and I will watch it again when it airs right after this show.
And aren't you supposed to be doing work? Anyway, don't forget about the final episode, which will air tomorrow morning and then again tomorrow afternoon.
How could I?
All right. As always, we've pulled some, well, it says we pulled some questions, but I know we didn't end up pulling any questions today. But that said, we do have some updates, so we will get to that first before we get into today's questions. So without further stalling for time, let's hop over to the question stock. Okay, so top of the list here for fixes from last week. I did actually get into items that were on the list. It was the request for opening X more bounty contracts after you've opened a full set of bounty contracts. So specifically, if you open, and actually I'm going to say specifically this is not live yet, but will be live with the build that Peter is aiming to push out later today on Steam and then other platforms after that. Anyway, the idea here is that if you open 50 bounty contracts specifically, it will prompt you to open another 50 if that is what you wish to do, and you can just carry on like that and burn through as many as quickly as you'd like. Additionally to that, there was a request that the multi-party window, the party preview window, expand to show more than 3 parties. And now if your resolution is high enough that it'll fit, it will expand to fill as many items are available. So I think right now at 1080p you do get 5, which is all that's available, so perfect. All right, into the ongoing issues, things we're still looking at. There was still reports of there being an issue, and you close the game and there's a save delay. That is something that I've looked at before, and I'm continuing to have on my list to look into going forward. We did want to change the options on loading a save formation. So right now, if you're loading a save formation, you've only got 2 choices, which is to either recall the missing champions or just to cancel. And we're going to change that to have it so that you can recall them, you can skip the ones that are missing, or also you can cancel. So that'll let you just pull in the ones that are available rather than forcing you to pull in the ones that are not there. Let's see, we're going to do a pity timer for the next epic on a chest on the time gate screen, as well as the next epic from a chest on the chest store screen. I'm going to bug Justin about the missing node on the strong core. Justin, why is it still missing? You do know. Havilar's imps are set, or we're going to get it set so they automatically spawn, and we would like to continue to have feats saved along with formations. So that's the ongoing list. And yeah, we've got a blank set here for leftover questions. Justin, why is that?
That's because we started an hour and a half early, and normally we pull those questions in the hour and a half before the show. And we did not pivot to actually pull questions forward earlier. Because we're good at this.
We're definitely on top of it. That said, we do have some new questions coming in, fairly rapid fire, so let's get into those. All right. First question of the stream. This one is from Monkey House. When are we going to see the missing node on that one core? Oh.
Great question, Monkey House. As I've explained a couple of other times, I am still considering exactly how to add that node to the core. The place where it is supposed to be in the design is currently in the live game. It's an empty, or it's a place where you can put pipe. And so if we want to put the node there, as it is supposed to be, then we'll have to do something about people who have put pipe through there, because it could break people's sort of carefully crafted cores, which is some great alliteration. Thank you very much. But the other option is just to put it off to the side somewhere. And so we're considering whether to take the easy route or the hard route there, and we'll see what happens.
Okay. And can you remind us again why it only has 29 instead of 30? What happened there, Justin?
Whoever was putting it in put it in wrong. I don't know. Who do you want me to throw under the bus here?
I mean, did you design it with that piece there and then miss it?
No, it's designed. It was designed with 30 nodes. It was just an implementation issue that we apparently didn't notice for a very long time.
Okay.
It's very finicky to put in new mode run cores. It's just a giant list of, it's like from top left to top right. It's just a list of which tiles are permanently in each spot, and it's very easy to mess up. So, yeah.
Okay. You want to ask the next question, or shall I?
Sure. Yeah. No, I can ask this. This next one is from Adam Human, who I'm not sure if they are actually a human. Their question is, any thoughts on moving the health bar to the bench rather than it being hidden on the field?
And we see a follow-up comment there from Mars, who's modding, saying, genuinely really like this idea.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm trying to think. I feel like we had this in the initial design and removed it. Like, am I wrong? Am I off base on that?
We may have, because on the bench you have, instead of having the health bar, you have sort of your progress to the next upgrade, right? And yeah, I think initially we did maybe have it. I think we removed it because just because there was two health bars there, or two bars there, two progress bars there, and it was a little bit confusing as to which was which. So we moved it out to try and be a little bit more clear on which was health and which was kind of levels. With that said, I mean, I totally do appreciate the fact that it is difficult to see the health bar, nigh impossible, when you've got a bunch of enemies stacked up on top of your tank or tanks.
Yeah, so, I mean, you have to have faith that your characters are going to pull it through, or not. When this has come off, I have often wondered how much of an impact it actually would make to be able to see that, or whether it's just something you would like to see, even in which case you would just know that you weren't going to make it through. Yeah,
it's one of those things where you don't have a lot of sort of reactive abilities to use to do something if your tank's health is dropping down. I mean, you've got Celeste's ultimate. Maybe there's a couple of other ultimates that can help out there. I guess anything that kind of stuns can hold off enemies for a few more minutes, but for the most part, there's not going to be too much you can do on an ongoing basis.
Right. All right. Well, let's move on to the next question then.
Sure. Next question's from Pockybox, who asks, when will the formation save include feat settings?
That is a great question. That one.
F-E-A-T, not F-E-E-T.
Right. Yeah, as kind of mentioned previously, for viewers who are not familiar with this, the feats, which is additional abilities that champions can have unlocked or you purchase for them, were not initially included, or were a feature that we added later in the design after we had formation saves, and so they hadn't been included in the formation saves. It is something that is currently on our list to add that. I don't have an exact sort of build or date when that's going to be into the game, but it is something that's on the current dev list. It's one I think I mentioned at the beginning of the stream, and so that is something that we'd like to get in over the coming, I want to say a couple to maybe 6 weeks is kind of the range on the items on that list is what I'm aiming at. But I can't make any promises specifically on that because a lot of that stuff gets done by the other developers on the team, and they have a very full plate of items right now. So, but definitely on the list and definitely going to get done. Okay. Next question here from Old Man Master. Any chance we can get Bailoff bucks in the game?
Yes, Bailoff bucks. Ooh. See, I can do Mark Mir voices. And proof that I watched the stream of Idle Champions Presents The Black Pits, which streamed earlier today and will be streaming right after this show. Hashtag plug. Yeah, no, Baloth bucks are awesome, but I don't know if we could find a system where we can put them in game. So, alas, maybe like an upcoming feat for Baloth could reference Baloth bucks. It's kind of one of the ways we like to reference sort of lore things is by doing it in feats or equipment descriptions or stuff like that. So,
Okay.
Baloth bucks. Ooh.
Here's a question that I don't think either of us know the answer to.
Oh, darn, I was going to ask you.
This question is from the Throat. The Throat? Anyway, the question is, what is the lowest OS versions on Android that will run Idle Champs?
I have no idea.
I might have spoiled the answer on that one, is that I don't actually know off the top of my head what that version would be, and I assume you don't as well.
I could check in with Peter and ask that question. Well, you ask me the next question.
Sure. Next question here from Maniac Clown. Is the new strength of character variant bugged? Permadeath seems to be a thing in it, but the description doesn't mention that.
So yes, it was bugged, but I believe a fix has been put out. It's a back-end fix, I believe. So if you restart your client, you may have to restart the variant as well to get it to work, but it should be fixed now.
Yeah, my guess would be if people were permadead, you might have to restart to the actual variant to get that. But it does sound like that fix went out. So.
Mm-hmm. The next question is an interesting kind of an interesting question from the Lurking Writer, who says, weekend buffs are great, although sometimes the champion choices make me scratch my head at their inclusion, but sometimes they can break carefully crafted formations. Any plans to offer an opt-out choice? Cheers for all you and your colleagues do.
That's a good question. I wonder what specifics cause a formation to break. Is something...
Yeah, I would be interested to know.
Something you push just a little too far?
What exactly breaks about formations or can break formations when they're included in weekend promo buffs? Because that would be very interesting.
Yeah.
It's just too much damage. Yes, Emote is saying Modron Briv stacking requires very specific damage. See, these strategies are too high level for me. I mean,
sort of in a general sense, though, I don't think adding the ability to opt out of the buffs that we're offering for the weekend promos or something that would be something we'd consider doing, just because it is a really, that would be a particular edge case that, yeah, it doesn't seem like it's something that would have a lot of value on our end to add that in.
Yeah, I think that's the main challenge. Like, I appreciate that that it seems like there's situations where, you know, buffing Whittle or buffing Briv or buffing, you know, a champion's DPS can make them too powerful when you have a very carefully tuned thing for resetting. But I think in terms of, you know, the vast number of players are unlikely to use that or want that, which is going to, which basically means, like, if we're going to spend, you know, a couple of hours or however long it would take us to implement that type of feature. I'm not really sure exactly how long that would take. But, you know, the time that we spend working on that, we could probably work on something that would benefit a larger portion of the player base. And that's one of the choices we always have to make. You know, we're constantly triaging bugs and features and content, and just trying to do the stuff that will make the game better for the most number of players. So, yeah.
For sure.
Let's see. Next question here is from Alaron SVK. Who asks, do you plan to implement other full screen aspects other than 16:9?
So the game should support any full screen aspect that your monitor will support. Support too many times there. When you load up the settings dialog, you'll find that next to the for the resolution selections, there is a force 16:9 checkbox. that you can uncheck, and then other aspect ratios will be available in the dialog there for you. And if for some reason you're at a crazy resolution that doesn't show up there, you can actually edit the there's a it's called there's a file called Localsettings.json that's inside of the main game directory, and if you alter that, you can actually set whatever resolution you feel like. So that certainly can override it there, but just unchecking the 16:9 should get you back the other standard resolutions. Okay. Next question here is from Niskus. Could we get a roaming area where we can put familiars for them just to be there having fun? We do have a lot of cute familiars, but there's not enough placing locations for them.
Yeah, that's an interesting kind of question. Just basically just a little menagerie where they don't do anything, but they just kind of walk around and look cute and look like they're having fun. It's another one of those things, I think, where it's a time investment thing. You know, how much time would it take to put something like that in, and how many players would find that useful. So I would say it's probably pretty low in terms of a chance to get implemented. But it's a fun idea, and I certainly do appreciate that. You know, there's a lot of really cool familiars, and it'd be great to see them on screen.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on that, Dave, or is that?
Sorry, I was just reading the additional comment there saying more than 80 familiars, but roughly 20 at a time is kind of sad.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it definitely would be a fun thing to have. It feels to me a little bit like the kind of thing where if we'd, you know, often we hire students, and one of the first things we get them to work on is usually something that they can cut their teeth on that doesn't impact a lot of other systems. And we haven't had any recently, but the next time we do something like this could be a fun first project. Because it has such a low impact in terms of like if something goes wrong, and often when we get a new developer, especially a student, that can be a higher risk. So something like this that's isolated would be a fun thing, to get them to cut their teeth on. But yep.
Yeah, I've got an answer to the throat question about the iOS or the Android version rather. And it looks like the game should run on Android 4.4, which is KitKat. So that is, as far as I know, that is the answer. But yeah. Let's see. Let's move on to the next question, which is from Cassius335. And they're asking, so when do we get ICP Codename staff who don't have characters in Idle Champions edition? Including the two of us, of course.
Right. Well, what they don't know is that we did actually try one of these, and the ratings were just so low that we
nobody saw it. No. I've never played D&D on stream, so that might be fun. That'd be something like something we do for like Extra Life or something like that, right? But we've just had so much stuff for Extra Life the last few years that it's tough to kind of slot in things that are more kind of fun like that.
Yeah, I think I participated in two of the D&D ones we did on stream for Extra Life, not last year, but the year before that, and then the year before that, which is always a ton of fun to do. But I don't think one of these big productions is likely to have some of us mere mortals in it.
Yes, not the mainstream ICP ones.
No. Okay.
My Twitter following is just not big enough to warrant me being on there.
Do you even have a Twitter account?
I do have a Twitter account. I created a Twitter account at some point because I thought you needed a Twitter account to view other people's Twitter's accounts because I just didn't know what I was doing. And so, yeah, I do have one. I've never tweeted, though. I'm not very good at the socials.
I'm basically in the same boat.
Let's see. The next question is from a Devil Crayon. Ooh, don't use that crayon. Who asks, do you have any leads on the problem with the special guest champions via DM, Mahan, Nahar, etc., disappearing from formations when they've been in the background for a while?
No, that's not something that I have any information on. I'm gonna tag that, but I think Justin's tagging it right now, just so that we can ask Peter about that and see if there is any details on that. And I don't know if Sean is in the in the channel. He might have some insights on reports of that, but it's not something I've got information on.
Yeah, I know it's something that the team is aware of, but I don't know if they've been able to find a repro for it yet. So
right. Okay.
Let's see. The next question is from Lex the cat. See, I would much rather play with Lex the cat than a devil crayon. Just saying.
A talking cat? Can you trust a talking cat? I mean,
well, we don't know that it can talk. All we know right now is that they can type. So Lex the cat asks, on the map screen when you pick patrons, it's currently a small box that can fit about 2.5 patrons with scrolling. Can we have all unlocked patrons displayed at once for non-potato resolutions?
You know, that sounds like an infinitely reasonable request.
That sounds very reasonable.
Why did we end up with such a small box, Justin?
I think we just didn't want to cover a bunch of the map. My guess is that we were just trying to cover the least amount of the map possible. And when we first put that out, I'm pretty sure that was just back when we just had 2 patrons and no patrons. So it never actually, it didn't scroll because it fit all of the stuff. And so now that we have 4 patrons, it does not work as well. So yeah, I think we could totally make that bigger. Though I play at potato resolutions because I try and keep it off to the corner of my screen. But I am fine with this this kind of fix because it feels like something that could benefit a lot of players for a relatively low amount of work.
Yeah, it all sounds like one of those things I could sneak in and do. Those are the ones that have limited impact on the rest of the development team.
As long as you remember to commit them before we push and say we've done them.
Listen, I had no idea Peter was doing a build like that hour. At least I put it in the changelog. Wasn't true, but all right. Yeah. Next question here is from McShizman. Thoughts on an option to show the spec and or feats on the bench? Similarly, if a champ can be made eligible for a patron and or adventure from feats, having something visual on the bench or selector.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of like the idea. It's kind of like when you go to when you're setting up a Modron core and you're setting up the specializations. You can kind of see the specializations that you've picked, little icons there, which I think is pretty cool. I don't know about feats. Feats are actually up for some design time. We're going to be looking at what kind of fun things we can do with feats, because right now there's a similar problem to the Modron or the familiar thing where there's a whole bunch of feats, but you can only have 2 at once per champion. And so I think we're going to be looking at ways to make feats more interesting. So that might preclude putting anything on the bench right now, just because we might change how feats work. And I also like the idea, and I think we've talked about this before, but something on the bench if a champ could be brought into an adventure or made available for a patron by using a stat feat. It'd be cool to indicate that in some way. With that said, I think neither of these are super straightforward or easy to do, and they also would require a bunch of kind of figuring out how to arrange that to not be too busy and not be too confusing, especially for newer players. But I could see it being some sort of option that we put in for more veteran players to be able to toggle on. If you're just sick of staring at the portrait of a certain champion, you just want to cover their face with other icons, then I could certainly see something like that working out. But yeah, it's an interesting idea.
Okay, got a bunch more questions highlighted there, but let's move on to the next one here, which is from Emote. The question is, when Celeste tanking feats? Question mark. Sentry slot 3 overcap fix? Question mark. And strong core node? Question mark. Oh, and then also trials changes. It's been months.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I mean, I can just address these kind of in order. So Celeste tanking feats, they are on the list to look at. We just haven't gotten to that yet. It used to be that we could just do these things really, really quickly because we were only in English, and so we'd just toss in the data and be able to push it out like the same day, take like 15 minutes. Now it's a little bit more involved because we're in so many languages, so it has to go through we have to write the names and the descriptions, and then it has to go through the translator and all that stuff. So that one's probably a little bit a ways away. For the Sentry slot 3 over cap fix, that is underway. We have a fix on the way for that. I would suspect we'll see that in September. These things do take a little bit of time to percolate out. The strong core node, we talked about that one. We're still trying to figure out exactly how to address that. And we do have some trials changes that I think are nearly done. I'm not sure whether we're going to be trying to push those with this build lock, or whether we're going to wait to get a bunch more stuff together for that. But yeah, all of these things are still on our radar. They are underway, and we will hopefully get those out to you within the next couple of months.
Yeah, it definitely sounded like that some of the trials changes were ready to go, and that I know Chris was eager to take those ones that were ready and get them out, because there's quite a list of them, and waiting for the remainder of the list would just make it even longer than it has already been. So
yeah, I know one of them on the list was the auto start, which is something I've been looking forward to, where as soon as everyone has picked their champions, the trial just starts without having to wait for the leader to come back and do it. So that would be pretty cool to get out as soon as possible. Let's see. The next question is from Basilius. Or maybe it's en français. Basilius. Anyway, they ask, will you ever implement responsive design with a proper mobile-friendly GUI, graphical user interface?
Yeah, so the short answer in this one is no. The more detailed answer is...
Let's do the longer answer. The short answer doesn't sound all that good.
So I think based on the way they're asking this, they're talking about responsive design being like layouts that change based on the width and height of the available screen. And actually big portions of our layouts do actually do that. But not all of them. Some of the dialogues are sort of fixed size, but a lot of the game, like the overlay UI pieces, all change sizes based on the size of your screen and resolution. But that's really the sort of the crux from the second part of that question, which is about the mobile-friendly design, and that is that the game's UI was not designed or intended to be used on mobile. And it's kind of a funny story of how that ended up being released on phones, especially the smaller phones, because that was something that we really, as I said, it wasn't the intention that it be available there. We'd had a bit of an issue with the redesign of GUI of a previous game, which was Crusaders of the Lost Idols, which did have a mobile UI that we designed for it. And we'd found when we did that a lot of the elements in the game that we wanted to have visible all at once were unable to make them visible all at once. And it ended up being a very difficult design challenge that we never fully solved on that. And so when we went on to make the next game, which was this one, which was Champions, we decided what we would do is we would target tablets with the same UI as we do for desktop, but that we wouldn't allow it to be scaled down to the smaller size unless we'd figured out a way to solve that problem. But funnily enough, there was a phone. It was the Galaxy Note 9, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, Justin.
I think that sounds right to me.
Yeah, but it originally was classified as a tablet. And so a large number of Galaxy Note 9 owners downloaded the game and were playing it on their large size phone, which had been classified as a tablet. And at some point, Google decided they were going to change that designation from tablet to phone, and then all of those players suddenly were unable to get an update for the game because the application on the Play Store was listed as tablet only, and now their device was not a tablet, and so I guess you don't get to have an update was the way the store was going to work on that. And so after much sort of mulling that one over, we decided the best thing to do was to release it with a warning on it that says, listen, this is really not designed for small screens, but your mileage may vary depending on the size of your screen, and let it out on phone. And what we found is that actually there's a fair number of players who have no trouble with that, but it's kind of, again, it's your mileage varies based on your phone resolution, and sort of, how big your fingers are, I guess, is another factor that comes into play. But the mobile, actually doing like a full mobile-friendly UI is not something. It's still a particular challenge that we're not planning to tackle. The game has 2 UIs at this point. It's got the base UI and the console one, and just adding a third UI would add a significant amount of overhead. So that one's not on the table, but does have a long-winded explanation. Cool.
Cool.
Next question here. Shall let you tackle?
Oh, okay.
Give it a shot.
There's actually another one just like this further down, so I'll ask it to you later.
All right, perfect.
See if our answers.
I'll see answer. This one here is from Idle Construct Gamer. Their question is, would it be possible to implement a fusion of accounts from different systems? For example, Epic, Steam, Xbox, etc.
Yeah, so we get this question quite a bit, and unfortunately, we are not going to be doing sort of joint accounts right now. And the main reason is historically the platforms have not appreciated that, not allowed that. Actually, it's express in a lot of the platform agreements where they basically don't want you to purchase something on one platform and then use it on another platform, or I guess the worst case scenario is purchase something on another platform and then use it on their platform, because they want to get their cut of the revenue when you purchase something on their platform. So that's the main reason why we don't do that right now. There are also some sort of secondary reasons why that becomes very challenging, mainly around just keeping everything, keeping like the code synchronized between platforms. We've talked in the past about how we can deploy code to platforms like Steam and Epic very quickly. It's a little bit slower on platforms like Epic or Xbox or PlayStation, and can be quite slow on platforms like iOS or Switch. And so basically what that means is, like, if we were to release Champion that maybe had a bug and we had to disable that while the bug was in place, we would potentially have issues if you were playing on both Switch and Steam, where on one of them it's disabled and one of them it's not, and like what happens when you do offline progress on the platform where it's disabled compared to the platform when it's not. There's a lot of kind of issues that make that very challenging from a development perspective as well.
Yeah, I think sort of the biggest one there would be a case if, like, we try really, really hard to make sure that all of the content can be released at the same time across all the platforms. But every now and then, something slips, or one of the platforms that takes a long time to do to go through their validation process, for the platforms that do have validation processes, can end up missing that date by a short period. I think most recently we did have a delayed event. We've had maybe one delayed event this year, and it was on Switch.
Yeah.
And that's because their check process can take anywhere from 5 to 20 business days. I don't know that it's ever actually taken 20 business days, but I know that's sort of that's the window they give you. But it definitely takes longer than something like Steam, for example, which has no check. We can literally just push out directly to Steam without any intervention whatsoever. So definitely there's a big issue there with parity of the code version, so if you're trying to go across two platforms. But again, I think the first part of that, which is kind of a key part that just really stops us from doing it at all, is that some platforms are very, very restrictive in sharing user and purchases and other things across platforms, and others actually just straight up doesn't bother them at all. But because we're in a mix of those platforms, it'd be a little bit messy to see which ones you could trade or not trade between, but cross-platform on. And so we've just opted not to support that.
Emote has a solution I hadn't thought of.
Easy solution.
It says easy solution. Don't make bugs. Shoot, yeah, we should try that.
That's perfect. Let's
move on to some more questions. I'm like, it's 1:05. Oh my gosh, we're 5 minutes past the hour. 5 minutes late. It's like, no, wait, we started at the half hour.
Okay, next question here. This one is from Delica. I farmed a lot on a single map, but I found my party wiped at the first area's trash mobs, like kill 25 monsters. Is the monster's strength scaled with the current gold that I have?
So, no. the monster strength scales with the amount of gold they drop. There's a couple of reasons why you could end up back in the first area. Generally, in a normal map, in a normal adventure or free play, it's probably not going to happen. But in some variants where there are effects that can kill your formation, that's certainly one of the places where that can happen. Especially some where they'll randomly drop something from the sky that'll just kill one of your champions. If it ends up just randomly killing your main DPS, or it randomly ends up killing some stuff, then that could certainly knock you back. Especially because once auto progress turns off, it's basically that stuff's just going to fall from the sky until your party wipes. Same with adventures that have, or variants that have sort of poison or anything that can kind of kill your champions randomly. So yeah, it does happen from time to time. Generally, if you just hit auto progress and go back up to the top level, you'll be able to smash your way through them.
All right, I think it's your favorite time of the stream, Justin.
It is. You know what time it is? Oh, see, I was expecting a crowd of people to yell, "It's giveaway time," but they didn't, because that's not possible. It's just you and I on a Zoom call.
This is a one-directional audio.
It's giveaway time. We're gonna do a chest giveaway. This is something we do every stream, where we give away 42 chests of your choice. And the way that works is if you tab over to chat, you can see that there will be a giveaway going on. You'll just have to type in a certain keyword, and it's 107. Yes, you'll just have to type in a certain keyword, and that will enter you for a chance to win chests of your choice. The keyword today is going to be early stream. And hopefully by the time I've said that, it will appear in chat. There it is. Okay, so early stream. Type that in chat. That'll give you a chance to win 42 chests of your choice. It can be any chests in the game except for Glory of Bahamut chests, because you can't pick those. You can pick gold chests if you want to get items for your core champions. You can pick a certain hero chest if you want to get whittle gear. Pick 42 whittle gold chests. If you want to get less whittle gear, pick 42 silver whittle chests. If you want to just get less stuff overall, I guess you could pick just base silver chests.
That's my option. Silver chests. I recommend that to everyone. Yeah. Along with the aluminum chests. I think they got the really good gear in the aluminum chests.
If I won the giveaway, which I can't win because I'm not allowed. But if I did,
I know what you would pick.
Well, what?
Modron chests.
That's correct. Modron component chests. Those are my favorite chests. I love playing the pipe game. So yeah, the giveaway will go on for another minute or so. Type early stream, not Gulf stream. That's the wrong stream. Into the chat, and you will be entered into that draw. Good luck.
All right. Got a few people in chat looking for aluminum chests, so...
Good job. You've confused everyone.
Or maybe it's my pronunciation. I got the Canadian pronunciation instead of the aluminium, I guess, is the
British pronunciation. For all of our British fans out there, aluminium.
It's really good for wrapping a sandwich. Next question.
Yeah.
Which is actually right in line with this from So Defunct. Are you releasing a Modron type individual game?
That would be pretty fun. But no, I mean, I really like the Modron pipe sort of mini game that's in, and we got another question in here somewhere that I saw if we were planning to do any other new mini games like the Modron Core mini game. But no plans at this time to release another a game like that.
Well, that was like one of your first games, right? Like you had on your 386 back in 1990.
An old my dad used to play an old shareware, or it wasn't even shareware. It was like an old shareware game called Pipe Dream, like the old DOS version, not the Windows version, but the old DOS version. He used to play that for hours.
Burned into your brain, see, and then later it ends up in the games that you make. So, all right.
What can I say? I was inspired.
Next question. This is from Vin Mist. Why not make Bealoth a patron, and his currency is Bealoth bucks?
I guess I mean, I know this is kind of a joke question, but the answer is because Bealoth is already a champion, and you can actually get Bealoth on Epic Games Store right now. I think the giveaway includes Bealoth and a cool skin for him. So yeah, if you haven't played the game yet, definitely now's the time to log in on Epic and grab that free pack of stuff.
That'd be the odd person out here, though. I don't know how did you make it to the stream without playing?
Just people are just clicking around on Twitch. Yeah. You never know.
Rolling the dice. Next question here is from Eknor, asking, is there a plan to move the Modron filter so it doesn't hide part of the layout? Maybe include it on the left column or have the option to move it around.
Yeah, this is a good question. I also find it annoying that the Modron, that the filter options kind of block the top left, especially in some of the cores where you actually kind of want to put stuff in the top left. I find myself, closing it and then putting stuff and then opening it back up, and it is quite annoying. I don't know where else it would really work super well. Maybe just having the option to move it around, like you say, would be useful. Because then you could sort of put it off to the right when you're putting stuff on the left side, and vice versa. That's probably the option that I would go for if we implement.
This is
the
drop down dialog that lets you pick the piece types that we're showing. Is that what we're talking about?
You can pick rarity, and more importantly, you can pick the inputs and outputs, like which sides have pipes coming out of them. Right. That's sort of how I use it, right? So yeah.
Yeah, certainly being able to move it around would be helpful.
Yeah. So we'll highlight that and we'll see what we can.
We'll make it so we can drag the Modron view a little further over, so it's not.
Right. That would also do the trick. That might actually even be
that would be a much easier fix, I think.
An easier fix. Yeah, just to have it
padding on there.
Screen. Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Here's a fun question, and maybe this is an indication we've got some new players in the chat, because this is an oldie. This question is from Maxi Cubert. Do you plan on correcting the DPS display to make it more accurate?
Yeah, so this is a good question, and we should probably try and answer this more often. Though we don't often get this question anymore. But the challenge with the DPS display is it is extremely hard to make it fully accurate. There's a couple of reasons for that. One of our goals for the DPS display is to kind of make it useful for new players, so that when you are moving stuff around in your formation, that it sort of turns green when your DPS is going to go up, and turns red when your DPS is going to go down. So you can kind of tell, like, hey, I swapped two champions and this is better or this is worse. And one of the problems with the game is sort of as you're spending gold on stuff, or like monsters are spawning or various things are happening in real time during the game, that it can also cause your DPS to go up and down, your actual DPS to go up and down. And so we sort of intend the DPS display to be pretty static unless you are specifically taking actions, so that you can kind of use it as a like somebody said in chat there, like a thumbs up or a thumbs down, whether your move was a good one. And if we integrate sort of all the various factors in there that can affect your sort of real DPS, it's just going to start to just swing all over the place as monsters spawn, as monsters go. Depending on who you have in your formation, some of the abilities can go up and down and all over the place, just seemingly at random. But
and that makes it like even equally or more confusing.
It does, yeah. It makes it very challenging to have it be completely accurate and to have it be useful. And so it's sort of intended to be more of a good, or you made a good or a bad move. If you're looking for sort of your effective DPS, there's an option to switch it to that, I believe. And then you can also look at your BUD down at the bottom to see kind of what your DPS peak has been in recent times. We have discussed maybe the possibility of giving an option to put your BUD up there for sort of advanced players who understand what that is. But that again would potentially flick around quite a bit, and it certainly, you wouldn't automatically get an indication when you're moving champions around, whether or not it's better or worse, until sort of your main DPS attacked, or, I guess only if it's very complex. So yeah, I don't think there's any plans to really change it right now. But it is something we're aware of, that certainly it's less useful to more veteran players, and they tend to look more at the bud.
Yeah. All right, let's see. Next question here from Suram9. Why do I feel I'm being punished making a time gate run? It reflects you being day one in the game because you have 0 mischief favor, and it takes all day to get through the first run unless you use speed potions, and you have to do it 3 times to get all the achievements. Could it be changed from Mistra favor to carry over to a new or several time gate runs, and when you close the time gate window is when you're forced to convert Mistra favor?
Yeah, this is a good question, and I think the main thing I would say here is that it's brand new time gates or brand new events are certainly challenging when you're earlier in the game. I think as you build up equipment and blessings and patron perks and Modron core bonuses and all that stuff, it actually gets quite quick to get a whole bunch of favor. I think our veteran players can probably just clear to area 500 or 600 on 0 favor quite easily in sort of base campaigns. And it's definitely something that sort of goes away as you get further and deeper into the game, and that's somewhat definitely by design. I don't think we have any plans to change that at this time. Sort of how that, they're getting to 800 plus now, so I don't think there's any plans to really change how that works about for time gates specifically. Or for events for that matter. I think we like the idea of kind of starting over, and they definitely do get easier over time as you get deeper into the game. It's a good question though. Let's see, next question here from SailNet. This is for you, Dave.
You're not going to answer.
I'm not going to answer because the answer is embarrassing. Say, when's the last time you were able to play D&D, and was it homebrew or a pre-written adventure?
Yeah, that's a sort of a sad question, because I think the last time like we had an ongoing campaign that we were playing here at the office. It was something that Adam was DMing. I remember playing that with Sean and Dexter and a few others. And we stopped when the COVID lockdowns happened, and we haven't played since. And so it's been about 2 years since we played. Mm-hmm. And we were doing a pre-written adventure. I think Adam had started with one of an introduction campaign that was, I believe it was one of the starter pack ones actually that he'd grabbed that he liked, and then he'd mixed it into another one, and I can't remember what it was now. Maybe Sean knows if he's in the chat, but. Yeah, so they were pre-written, and he was. I think we were jumping between them, but that was pretty fun. We need to find a day to carry that on or start another one. Now that back up. We can do that again. Yeah,
for sure. Cool. Next question is from SDS Adrian, who asks, "Will you fix the open one more chest issue on Xbox?" He says, "Instead of opening a new chest, it goes back to the inventory."
I didn't know that was. I'll flag that.
Yeah,
I didn't know that was the case. But if it is,
the answer is yes. We will fix that.
Yeah.
Because we did not know that was an issue. Well, I didn't know that was an issue.
Well, neither did I.
You didn't either.
Okay.
Yeah. No, we already kind of did that one.
Oh, you're crossing them off. Okay.
Yeah. Let's see. The next question here is from Mick Shizman, and I haven't read this question yet, so I'm going to read it to you right now live. It says, regarding familiars and save files, could the formation saves be changed to use available familiars instead of saving specific familiars? This could help when you place a familiar, but a formation is currently using one of them. Automation would pull whatever familiars are available. Does it already do this?
That is what I was going to ask you, actually.
I thought we already did this.
We definitely did this for automation. Like the Modron will pull whatever familiar is available instead of specific ones. And this is because it's a terrible experience if it's just leaving blank spots. It's possible that the formation saves are using a different system to load that, so we can take a check and see if that's the case. But definitely was something we addressed for automation, and it definitely should just pull whatever's available if one's missing, because you don't want to end up with gaps. So
yeah, definitely.
I'll tag that, and we'll check to make sure that that's not the case for, or that if it is the case for formation saves, that it should be made to function the same way the automation one functions.
100% agree. Yeah.
Cool. Next question here from SLM 493. Would you consider updating how the game determines what mission/variant difficulty is? I have several variants showing easy that I know I cannot complete, and others that show fair or deadly that it can be reached easily. It sucks to try a variant and fall short after hours of play.
Yes, this is another great question. It's kind of in line with the DPS one, where the answer is we would love to do it, but it's very, very hard. So right now, the metric that is used to determine the mission difficulty is very, very simplistic. I think we kind of stopped trying at a certain point to get it to be semi-accurate. It really only just uses your favor, so it doesn't take into account your Modron cores, your blessings, your perks, any other sort of global buffs that you might have, and so that does make it very inaccurate, I would say. I think that I would love to try and find a way to make that heuristic more reliable. I'm not 100% sure how we would do that. I think that would require sort of the dev team to put our heads together and try and figure out sort of how we can calculate. Basically, the challenge is calculating sort of your potential power when there's all these different systems feeding into it, and then on the other side, sort of calculate the potential power needed to get through a certain adventure. So,
but that still doesn't cover everything, though, right? Like this is, we've discussed this at length here on various occasions, and there always ends up being outlier cases. Like there's an obvious formation, and when I say obvious, I mean there's an unobvious formation that might make an adventure trivial, that some measure of power just wouldn't cover based on the way the variant is designed.
For sure, yeah. I mean, for patron stuff where your champions are limited, or for worse, for patron stuff on adventures where your champions are already limited, you could have, a power metric of, 1 billion, but if you don't have any champions that qualify for that, or only one champion that qualifies for that adventure, your potential, your power level isn't really gonna factor into that. You're just not going to be able to do it with just one champion. So there's a lot of it's a very, very hard problem. It's one of those computer science NP complete problems that just it's too much processing to actually do it completely accurately. So we need to find ways to kind of approximate it. And
I mean, one thought we'd had was maybe having the it doesn't have a difficulty until enough players have played it and rated it, and then you have an idea as to what the difficulty rating for that was. But
I actually implemented a bit of code to do that at one point, but I never got deep enough into it to actually pull out difficulty ratings. And again, it was still just based on favor. It was basically when you finished an adventure, it recorded how much favor you had, and then said, hey, if you have this much favor and you can finish the adventure, I guess that's how much favor you need to finish it, and then just sort of average that towards an average. But it still just doesn't.
It's not a one variable problem, right? It's a multi-dimensional problem that's really, really difficult to get even a good estimate on, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
Okay. Next question. Can get there first. This one is from So Defunct, and they would like to know, what do you base your microtransaction pricing on? I see inflation hit it too.
So our microtransaction, our pricing model is based on the same stuff it's been based on since we released the game, which is sort of just the initial pricing that we had when we released the game. We haven't really adjusted it too much.
From an inflationary standpoint, actually.
Yeah, it's one we were actually talking about that recently because what was it? It was League of Legends, I think, has bumped up some of their pricing or adjusted their pricing models, and one of the excuses they used was that there's been inflation, and so stuff should be a little bit more expensive because they released League of Legends I don't know how many years ago, at least 10 years ago, kind of thing, and the prices haven't gone up since then, so they're missing out on 35% inflation in the last 10 years or whatnot. So it's definitely something that's on my mind. I don't think we have any plans to increase our prices based on inflation, and I don't think we have any plans to sort of adjust that right now. It is something that we have to keep in mind. Like 10 years from now, if our prices are the same as they are now, we're really just selling stuff for half the price kind of thing. So it's something to think about down the road, but nothing that we're thinking about right now. We're definitely not going to be trying to take advantage of the ridiculousness that's going on in the world right now.
Okay, we have a couple of minutes left. Maybe get one or two more questions out before we hit our time.
Yeah, I think maybe one more question because I got to figure out how to set up the stream. Okay, so the next question is from VegaDark541. This is a follow-up to a question they asked a few weeks ago. They said, any update to the console Modron core formation reset bug I mentioned a couple weeks ago? I submitted a new ticket and posted fresh videos on the Discord.
Yeah, so I did follow up, and I loaded up the console UIs, and I tried to get this to happen over and over again, and I saw the videos that were sent. And I talked to Peter about it, and he was saying largely that he has also had difficulty being able to actually get this to happen reliably. And so, I mean, like I said, I tested it on the UI itself, and the next thing to do is to bring it up on the actual consoles and see if I can get it to happen there. But it is something that was, it was not immediately making itself clear as to what the issue could be, because we're continually saving, even repeating the actions that were shown in the video. So like I say, but I was testing in the development environment, not on the console itself. So that'd be the next step. But it definitely, it's raising questions. It's been difficult to reproduce. And so it's probably going to be a tricky one to sort of figure out exactly what's happening there. Because like I say, following the steps visible, in fact, even with your account, I grabbed the account and copied it down so that everything would be exactly as it was. And it didn't happen in the development environment. So yeah, that needs further digging, for sure, but it's proving to be difficult. Okay, cool. I think we're out of time.
Yeah, as mentioned earlier, definitely stick around after our show for episode 2 of Idle Champions Presents The Black Pits, in case you missed the first stream of it earlier this morning.
And again, even if you did catch the first stream, we're running a unique cast member interview at the start of each broadcast. So if you've been enjoying the Black Pits so far, you'll definitely want to check that out, coming up right after this.
Yeah, and if we didn't get to your question this week, don't worry, you'll have another opportunity. We'll be live again at not this same time, at 2 p.m. Next Thursday. At least, yeah, next Thursday we will. And then I'm off on vacation for a couple of weeks, so we won't be. It'll be a couple of weeks when there's no episode.
Unless we have the show
without. No, because it says up here. When we're not here, the show doesn't happen.
So far.
Anyway, before we sign off, though, we'd like to thank our tireless mods. This week it was Mars and Martin. They're the two who copy your questions into our question stock and help to make things awesome. So thanks, guys.
And of course, thanks to all of you for hanging out, watching the stream, asking such great questions, and enjoying the game. Because without you, no one here would get to do what we do.
I guess we'd have to do something else.
Can't argue with that. All right. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon, everyone.
Bye. Well, I'm off to watch Idle Champions Presents The Black Pits, episode 2. I think it's coming up right now.
Only if we turn it on.
How do I do that again?
I better go help.